Hello there. Before we get started today, I wanted to let you know that we're having a contest and giving 3 people the opportunity to win 2 free coaching sessions each. All you have to do to enter is to go on iTunes, give us a 5-star review, take a picture or a screen capture, and send it to info@theoptimumhuman.com. Then you'll be entered to win not just 1, but 2 coaching sessions with both Brian and myself. Please note we will be picking winners on July 15th, 2016, so do it today if you want a chance to win some free coaching.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Optimum Human Podcast. Today's guest is Alex MacInnis. He is a former national level gymnast and a bodyweight exercise specialist. Today we talk about topics such as handstands, CrossFit, yoga, and the importance of a good diet. We hope you enjoy this episode as much as we did. Let's get into the show.
Welcome to the Optimum Human Podcast, the show that interviews the world's top experts in fitness, nutrition, mindset, and beyond. Let's get into the show.
Hey guys, it's Claude here. Welcome to the Optimum Human Podcast. With me is Brian McKay and Alex MacInnis. Brian is my co-host and longtime partner in crime. He's a super smart guy, and obviously you'll be hearing a lot more from him. And our guest today is Alex. He is an ex-national level gymnast. He's competed at the national level, I think 7 or 8 times. He's competed internationally. He is a gymnastics coach in Ottawa right now, and he teaches throughout North America. So when I was in LA with him, he taught a workshop there. He's taught workshops in Toronto. Pretty much, you think of it, he's probably been there. So, Brian, Alex, how are you guys doing?
Good, feeling pretty good. Bear with me through this. Not feeling so good. Got a bit of a stuffed up cold, but I'm sure we'll get through.
Well,
Absolutely.
it is Canada. It is Canada. So.
It is cold.
It is.
Yes, it's brutal.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to kind of get your history, get the ball rolling a little bit. How did you get into gymnastics? And just tell us like a condensed version of your history in the gymnastics world, right?
Right on. Well, I grew up doing gymnastics at a really young age out of Prince Edward Island. I wanted to do backflips, and I was able to do the splits and stuff already, and I thought it was really cool. So I went into gymnastics, and I ended up going competitively very soon within the year. And soon enough, I was competing, and I was competing all across the country by the age of 12, 13 years old. And then I started competing at nationals. I've been to Canada Games, competed at nationals 7 times. My routines actually started to kind of clean up by the end of the last couple of years, and I quit a couple times, late teens, got back into it when I was in university, and I was pretty committed and dedicated. But there was a lot of things that I didn't know, and I had a lot of injuries growing up, back injuries, wrist injuries, shoulder injuries. I've been to physiotherapy and doctors, I can't count on my 2 hands how many times. And my body's been through a lot, wear and tear, and I kind of got out of it. So I'm in Ottawa now. I've been in Ottawa for roughly 4 years, and I started a career here, became a youth worker, and I currently work with high-risk troubled youth, and I'm considered a youth counselor. So it's been a lot of fun, and that's kind of where my where my path has been going for the last little bit, but I'm slightly making a bit of a change, following my passion again, and been doing some really cool stuff lately.
Right on. Now I do know that you do a lot of workshops, and a lot of your current base right now of what you teach is CrossFit. And CrossFit, for those who may not know what it is, Alex, do you want to explain a little bit what CrossFit is and what you do in that realm?
Right on. Well, CrossFit is a very high intense type of training. Definition, constantly varied functional movement over a broad time domain. So basically means anything and everything and all type of lifting and pulling. And, that includes Olympic lifting, body weight training, gymnastics, and, a crazy amount of cardio work with all of these exercises combined. So, you can throw anything together for, a crazy CrossFit workout. And I think the CrossFit community is amazing. There's a lot of competitive athletes, and it's growing and growing. And, people are getting better and better, and you're seeing an insane amount of weights being lifted. And I guess where I come in, and I've been working with the CrossFit community the last couple of years, teaching some really cool workshops. And it's been growing. I'm learning as I go, and each workshop, are changing and getting better and better. And I'm covering the bodyweight gymnastics component of that, and it's been really exciting.
Very nice, very nice. Brian, did you have any questions related to the workshops or the gymnastics at all?
Well, I was hooked on the working with the youth. And have you been able to, or if you have, how have you been able to kind of work in the gymnastics and the CrossFit with working with the youth?
Oh, great question. So I work in a secure facility, and the kids don't really get to leave there. So I've always been a bit of an expert at, getting the kids moving and doing, pro-social activities and stuff. I'm not one to sit on the couch and sit around. I can't stand to sit still. So I gotta stimulate myself as well. And I grew up coaching gymnastics as well. So I was able to kind of bring that with me in this career. And, we got this little gym in the secure facility, and sometimes I'll get kids getting upside down and, learning handstands and, maybe some basic cartwheel drills. And so it's been, it's been a lot of fun doing that. My coaching has definitely carried over with being able to coach troubled youth, and especially the ones that, lack social skills. And so you got to be pretty patient to be able to handle that, let alone teach the gymnastics component of it. So it's been a lot of fun. And I've actually, I'm located here out of the Ottawa Gymnastics Center. So there's been a couple situations where I've had a couple of youth that earned outings, and they were able to come to the gym and do some one-on-one work with me. And it was actually really, really rewarding to be able to see that and have them jump in the trampoline and swing in the bars and do something that they would never even imagine or have, the gym is, 20,000 square feet full of amazing, brightly colored equipment. Like it's a child's kind of dream, especially with these kids that, have never been involved in any sort of pro-social activities or, growing up in any sort. So it's really cool. And that's kind of how I've been, applying that background. And I think there's a lot of other opportunities that I have in the back of my head as well. There's some really cool youth agencies here in Ottawa, and a lot of opportunity to kind of give back to the community, because my career is changing and I don't work as much with secure treatment anymore. So I'm definitely looking to stay connected in that way.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I know, for me, I never got into any legal trouble as a kid, but definitely got into some trouble myself. And, being able to get the body moving and get out of the head and into the body is just an absolutely huge thing.
For sure. Very therapeutic. And, here's another really cool experience I had. For a couple of years, I was working at a youth addictions agency, and I had some really cool experiences there. And I truly loved my job. And there was a lot of, I worked with kids age 14 to 21. And some of the kids there, they really love fitness. And I was able to, really bring that to them when we went to the gym. And when I was doing a lot of CrossFit back in the day, I would put these guys through, some badass CrossFit workouts in the backyard or when we went to the gym, and some of it included some gymnastics movements. So that was really cool. And super therapeutic for some of these guys. That's what they look forward to, day in and day out of their treatment. So yeah.
Well, I think that's why we do what we do, right? It's not for the big, 7-figure paycheck at the end of the day. It's because we
You got
love.
one of those? Awesome.
Soon. That's if people subscribe and rate our podcast 5 stars. Wink, wink. No, but it is, yes, therapeutic for people, but it also makes you feel great because you're having a positive effect on, the people around you. You're changing the world for the better rather than, let's say working at a cigarette company and producing toxins to kill people or working
Honestly, a lot of my self-care was at work. I was like the rec guy for a couple of years, doing weekend work, and I was the one that would plan the rec outings, and we would go mini putting and rock climbing and biking and then to the gym every Sunday. Like, it was amazing. My weekends were tied up, but I went to work and got my therapy as well, like working with these kids and seeing changes. And don't get me wrong, like, it was very stressful at times, and I've had kids in my face and, telling me off day in and day out. But again, it was a blast.
Well,
absolutely.
I don't doubt it, man. I mean, there's not much that makes me feel better than having someone positively affected by what I bring to their lives. So, changing gears again, let's talk a little bit about CrossFit. What would you say is the main draw for you to CrossFit? Like, what brought you there?
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of a history there. I was introduced to CrossFit as a kid, and we're roughly 18 years old, and I loved it. But back then, I just, didn't have the commitment, and the social life kind of got to me, and I didn't, Saturday morning getting up at 8 a.m. to go to a CrossFit gym at the age of 18 was pretty hard. But I did that for a few months, sorry, and I got back into it when I moved to Ottawa, roughly when I was 23, 24, and I was introduced to it again, and it was for me. Like, I love the fact that I was able to learn and pick things up very smoothly and very quickly. Like, I never knew what a kipping muscle up was, or kipping handstand push-ups and thrusters and all that jazz was. And but it was really cool because I was able to kind of learn it very quickly with my gymnastics background. So I was hooked, and within a couple of months, I felt that I was doing fairly well, other than all the wear and tear on my body and the injuries that I was pushing through at the same time. So it was a really cool experience. And yeah, I did CrossFit for a few years at CrossFit NCR here in Ottawa with some amazing, super highly competitive athletes and some of the best CrossFit in the world.
Now, you mentioned injuries. Were those from gymnastics, CrossFit, a combination?
Great question. Some of the injuries I had definitely from gymnastics, wear and tear on my body my whole life. Like I said, shoulders, back, and wrists completely shot. Every couple of years it would come back and get worse, and especially with my back, I've had a couple good years where I didn't get a lot of trouble, and I feel there's just something that I've been doing all along that was able to kind of keep me going and strengthen my back. And then every now and then I get a good 6 months where it's like, man, what the hell am I doing in my training that's causing my back? And I'm starting to kind of learn that now and piece things together. But the CrossFit definitely didn't help because what I find in CrossFit, the mentality when you walk into the gym, it's so competitive. It's just get that bar up and lift it up and down, up and down, up and down, rather than the big focus being on technique and smooth movement. And I'm learning now that how effective body weight training and executing that before under load is really important. So I do think that I had a lot of injuries from gymnastics, but not that CrossFit is an injury causing sport. I just think there needs to be some really fine-tuned details put to the movement in CrossFit to prevent injury. And my body, again, was a few steps ahead of many others, so very injury prone. And for me, that's kind of where I backed out and try to do things for the better. And again, improve my coaching right now. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
Right.
Now, I'm kind of curious, when you were at your peak, competing in national level Olympics or national level gymnastics, and then kind of now, like, what did your training regimen look like when you were at your peak, and then what does it look like now?
Oh man, I don't know, man. If I didn't train back then the amount I did, I don't know what the hell I would have done. I think it honestly saved me with some of the guys I was hanging around with. I was training 20 hours a week, and my homework, my school, nothing ever got done. My life was gymnastics. So every single day after school, my dad would pick me up around 3:30. I'd get to the gym around 3:40, and I didn't leave there till 7:30 at night. Got home, had a huge dinner, and often went right to bed. Homework didn't get done, and didn't have a social life either. Like, man, I worked a lot of weekends. I worked at Dairy Queen growing up, and I had training camps all weekend. I would train in the morning, go home for a quick lunch, train in the afternoon for another 4 hours, train early Sunday morning. So the training volume was insane back then, and that kind of carries over to my lifestyle and nutrition that's now affecting me, because I had one thing back then was commitment to training, but my nutrition wasn't the greatest. So now I'm paying for it now, and my training in the gym is hard because I don't have that that number one important component, nutrition, and it's been battle. It's been a battle the last couple of years, and just trying to be healthy and make my number one focus sleep. And right now I'm taking on a lot of different services at once and trying to grow this new business at the same time, working as a youth worker. So the training right now is definitely a lack thereof. A lot of my time is committed to the Ottawa Gymnastics Center. I'm teaching a weekly or a nightly adult gymnastics class, and that's my huge focus right now. So still trying to get an hour in here and there every day to just kind of move and focus on some body weight training or a goal that I'm working towards. But it's been hard. Yeah, so complete change for where I grew up.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And when you were a teenager and in your prime, were you doing like strictly gymnastics type movements? Were you doing external weight barbell type exercises? Was that any part, or was it just strictly gymnastics?
Great question. I was actually one of the strongest guys and most flexible guys in my gym, and that was my favorite piece to training in gymnastics. I just a lot of my time was conditioning, and when it came to the events, there was my routines were pretty clean, and that's pretty much where I was. I was in the gym, 99% of the time. I used to go to the old YMCA in Charlottetown with a couple of buddies, and we'd lift a little bit of weights here and there, but that wasn't my focus. My coach would always make sure that I was feeling good and healthy and not overdoing it outside of the gym. I remember I started running and doing some jogging one day, and my coach kind of was like, is there time, are you able to handle that? Or, is there any time in your life that, sorry, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but basically, my focus had to be in the gym. And now I'm learning that there's definitely, benefits to doing some barbell training and some external weight work. But yeah, my focus was in the gym, and that was it. Body weight training. I did some squats and some basic lunges and stuff like that, but it wasn't really consistent. And like I said, my training growing up, there was a huge disconnect with a lot of things, and there's loopholes in my training that I'm starting to kind of break apart now and figure out what my actual weaknesses are and where my injuries are being caused from. So, growing up, even though one of the most strongest and flexible athletes in my gym, my I there was a lot of weaknesses. I didn't do things properly. I didn't have the elbows in tight on the handstand and the handstand push-up, and I didn't work, the preparation of all the muscles in the joints and the connective tissue, and, doing the external rotators of the shoulder and the hips, and the active flexibility. Like, it was all passive. I was extremely flexible, but not strong in my range of motions. And yeah, now I'm paying for it and trying to, backtrack and start over again at the basics and fix those injuries once and for all. So, at some point I can come back and, be better than ever with the strength training. A lot of people ask me, will I ever go back into gymnastics? I don't know if that would ever be possible, but I do have some really cool goals that I'd like to be able to accomplish and, be better than I was that I once was, with the knowledge and the material that is presented to me now. I wish I did a little more research growing up. And the thing is, now with technology, there's so much material out there online and in books and workshops and stuff. So, I never stopped learning, and I'm not only applying that to my own training, but applying it to the coaching work that I'm doing at the Ottawa Gymnastics Center here, as well as my workshops.
Yeah, right on. I love that, man. I appreciate you, being so forthcoming with that, and I think there's a huge lesson to be learned for people to understand that everyone has a journey, and we're all learning, and we all get out of balance, and we do things that end up hurting ourselves, and then we have to kind of compensate for it later on. And I just think that's an awesome story and an awesome lesson for people to learn.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's definitely, I'm paying for it now because, all the years that I messed my body up, if you take an example of somebody that all they did was bench press all their life, and then they start seeing injuries in the shoulders and the chest, that's, if they did years of bench press, they're going to be doing years of prehab and physical preparation and rehab of the upper body. And that's where I'm at. I'm trying to rehab and prehab a lot of joints so they don't re-injure themselves. And it's going to take a long time.
Wait, are you saying I should add more exercises than just the bench press?
I thought that was all you need. Every day's chest Monday.
Every day is chest day.
Like, the training now that we really need to do is that I'm learning, even for myself, and I'm a bit of an extremist, is so complex. There's no formula, there's no system. Like, there's too many different, complex movements, whether it's barbell, bodyweight training, passive stretching, active stretching, yoga, there's just way too much. And I think there's so many, it depends what route you want to go and what goal you want to take, but it's honestly endless. So yeah. You just keep bench pressing, Claude.
Thank you. I will keep doing that no matter what anyone says. Now, you mentioned something about yoga. You've recently been getting into that kind of field, right? So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I've never really been into yoga. I've never really been into meditation and the spiritual side of things. And, I'm one that just likes to move, and I want to stimulate myself. And I like, I like challenges. I like fear. I like getting upside down and getting out of my comfort zone and, doing things that, either I couldn't do before or, things that I haven't done in a very long time. And yoga just was never for me. And I'm starting to learn that, hey, there's a lot of benefits to yoga and a lot of things that I'm lacking that yoga would do for me. For an example, my posture is completely brutal. I can't walk a long distance without my back. Not really getting sore, just more so fatiguing, with holding the proper posture or So, going to a mall and shopping for a few hours, it's brutal. I can't do it. So I've been really seeking a lot of different type of movement specialists, and learning from as much material that's out there as possible, and taking different workshops. And one of the workshops I actually started this weekend. I just got back late last night. I've been working. I'm going to be taking a course for 10 months with Catherine Bruni Young, and the amount of material that I learned yesterday that applies to me, and my loopholes are just starting to unravel. The last couple of years, and yesterday was amazing. I can't wait to apply some of the things that I learned in my training, and so I'm learning a lot of things about this yoga, and I know that yoga is, again, just another discipline that's so complex, just like gymnastics or CrossFit or powerlifting or jiu-jitsu, whatever it is. It's extremely complex, and yoga, there's so many different types of yoga, and one of the types that, or one of the, I guess, route that Catherine Bruni Young really focuses on is a strength component of yoga, and I find that really, really applies to me because, and it's not just the strength; it's more so the strength in full ranges of motion, and the active strength or the active sort of flexibility of the hip and the shoulders and stuff like that. So really, really fine tunement of these positions. And I'm loving it so far. And even the meditation piece I've learned a little bit over the weekend, and it's really soothing and therapeutic. And I never realized that, hey, my body does need to settle down and relax. You know what I mean? So it's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to the next 10 months.
So what kind of program is that? Like, do you have to go into a studio, or is it online, or how does it work?
Cool. So it's actually a 10-month teacher training. So I'll be certified, to teach yoga and apply the movements and all the work that we're learning into my gymnastics class. So,
wow.
As well as myself, and it's in a studio down in Cornwall, and I got some buddies down in Cornwall that referred me to take this course, and super pumped about it.
Dude, that's really cool. I had no idea until yesterday that you were even into this realm. The last time we really spoke, it wasn't like LA. Like, I came to one of your workshops last year sometime in Toronto, and that was the last time you were still kind of mingling a little bit with CrossFit, but you were going more than gymnastics route.
Yeah.
But no, that's awesome, dude, to see that you're expanding your focus, and you seem really happy with that you found this. So
for sure. And one thing I'm learning is where things came from years ago. Yoga and gymnastics is almost the same stuff. That's where it started, and all the yoga applies to gymnastics. I don't know if you can hear my dog there.
Holy moly!
Yeah,
that's a serious dog.
Basically, anytime a fire truck or an ambulance goes by, my dog seems to howl.
I was gonna say, are you sure that's not a coyote?
Dude, that's a mean sounding dog, but it's probably like a Chihuahua or something.
No, it's a golden retriever.
Oh, okay.
It's actually pretty cute, but kind of annoying when it's 3 or 4 in the morning.
It's just protecting It's just protecting the household, dude.
It doesn't matter when it is.
You should be thankful.
He howls. So, yeah.
Well, it's good. Brian, did you have any questions for Alex regarding CrossFit, gymnastics, yoga, his nutrition, his current goals?
I think and you may not be able to answer this yet, as you kind of led into your being into yoga is still in its infancy, but have you had any ideas on how you are going to be able to merge the yoga in with what you're already doing?
For sure. The girl that I'm learning from, she's connected with a couple other friends of mine, and some buddies that I connected with in the coaching field, and I've been applying, a lot of this kind of stuff, the different types of stretching of the shoulder and, some of the bridge work. And, but there's so much more. I'm learning how to refine it and perfect it now, the way that I've been teaching it in my classes. So it has already kind of carried over, but there's so much more to learn. It's honestly endless. And, it's just adding a little bit, bit by bit, into my classes and into my own training. And it's already started. But there's so much more to learn, and it's going to be definitely challenging. If somebody walks in my class and, they're coming to do an adult gymnastics class, a lot of people think they're going to be getting upside down and learning flips right away. And that's where the program kind of breaks down into different variety of classes that I offer. So for an example, the GST class is gymnastic strength training, and that may have a little bit of yoga in it, and I'm not talking like, intensive passive stretching and stuff like that. We do a lot of stretching in my classes, in all my classes. But the piece that I'll be adding into my GST is the activators of the hip and the shoulders and the wrists and all the different, every joint throughout the body, is coming from yoga. And
could you give us a quick example of like an activator? Because I've never heard that term myself.
Cool. So a really cool one would be if you're lying on your side and you have your knees bent at a 90-degree angle at the hip and the knee, and the knee's up in front of you, and you're lying on your side. Let's say your right arm is underneath your ear and your right knee is on the ground with the left knee on top of it. You would keep your heels together and your spine at a neutral position. So your back would be slightly arched, hips turned out, and hips actually slightly off the ground, towards the ceiling, rather than resting that right hip fully rested on the ground. So that would be your neutral spine position. And you're going to lift the knee up, so you're externally rotating the hip. And there's a lot of different complex movements, like whether you're lifting the knee and the foot, or just the knee, or maybe internally or externally rotating it, putting it behind you, in front of you, straightening the leg. There's so much work to do there for the hips and stuff. And that's where I'm learning that, we have a huge deficit when it comes to sitting and some of the, the items that we're given in today's, modern society, like chairs and car seats that, you can sit back in, and we're not forced to move. We're not forced to use those activators. Those tiny little muscles don't get used, and it applies to gymnastics as well. There's another really cool one would be the shoulder circles with the weight above the head. That applies to a handstand. So the handstand, not only am I getting on my hands, there's a lot of things that the elbows and the shoulders need to do, and some muscles that don't get activated. For example, the lat, by externally rotating the shoulder, super important. And that starts with different exercises before we get on our hands. So for an example, when I teach my workshops, we're not getting on our hands and fully inverted until midway through. The first things that we're doing is mobility and flexibility, and then we start doing some activators of the different muscles. So the shoulder circles with the arm above the head, if you turn your palm facing backwards, that's externally rotating the shoulder, and you're activating that lat. And then you're gonna be in a bit of a lunge position to allow the body to kind of turn as you rotate backwards, and then you can do the same sort of exercise going back the other way. So that applies to your handstand, your overhead squat, your snatch, anything overhead, anything in a supported position. That's your push-up, your handstand push-up. Again, it's so complex, it's endless, and that's only one thing. We could do in my classes, a lot of the work that we do before we even get into the strength work, it's the preparation of the joints.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of stuff people don't really think about. They just think getting into a handstand is just, flipping upside down, and they don't think about, mobilizing the joints, making sure that proper muscles are kicking in, alignment. Just to kind of follow along the same path, what would your top 3 cues, or what are the top 3 things that you have to fix in a handstand?
Oh man, that's pretty hard.
It's a loaded question.
For sure. So,
but like bullet points, let's say.
The biggest thing is mobility in both the wrists and the shoulders. I would have to say, a lot of people can't put their shoulders fully over their head, without keeping a neutral spine. So mobility is very important for building proper handstands and stability. Without being in a proper handstand, you can't fully activate all the muscles properly, especially externally rotating the shoulder and activating the lat. And the other one that I mentioned is the wrists. The wrists are just like the feet. When you start walking at an early age and you learn to walk, your feet start to develop and get stronger and learn to balance. That comes through the toes and all the ligaments and the joints in the feet. The hands are built the same way, and we have to prep the hands with mobility and active flexibility, stability in the wrist and all the fingers, and before I get upside down. And a lot of people are they're jumping right into handstands and learning that, which is really cool, and it's good to get out of our comfort zones and practice that stuff. But we got to remember the preparation work, and if we start feeling sore in the wrists, there's a reason why. We can't just avoid handstands for a while and then jump back into it. The wrists need preparation, just like the feet.
Definitely.
And yeah, I guess those were 2 points. The other one would be shoulder strength. If I can't hold myself in push-up position with straight arms and protracted shoulders, again, and externally rotated shoulders, activating the lat, keeping the core on, maybe do an inverted push-up position or plank position with the feet a little higher. That's important before I start stacking the shoulders as well.
Right on.
And not only important from a healthy joint standpoint, it's important for long-term movement and skill work. If I'm just jumping into a handstand, if you can hold a handstand with your back against the wall freestanding, and not freestanding, with your heels on the wall or even stomach on the wall, if you're holding a handstand and it's not fine-tuned, if it's not perfect, it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm talking if there's a huge banana back and the shoulders are leaning way over the hands and the heels are finding the wall, that handstand isn't going to transfer to more advanced movement and skill, such as a freestanding handstand hold, which is very, very basic in the gymnastics world, and very very essential and fundamental to any other skill getting on the hands in gymnastics, such as a one-arm handstand, a handstand push-up, a press to handstand, a swing to handstand on the parallel bars, and then so on. We get into some tumbling work on the floor, rings handstand. It applies to everything. So it's very, very basic, and it applies to I always talk about this in my workshops. We're not going to be Olympic gymnasts, but if we want to go further, if we want to go outside the standards of what's expected to us, not just in CrossFit, in anything, we have to perfect the basics.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is building that important foundation, and people generally want to rush through that in everything. I mean, I've had clients who are like, "Oh, I want to do a Tabata or interval training," and I'm like, if I do anything with you, it'll just reinforce bad movement patterns, and you'll end up getting hurt and then being like, "Oh, I hate exercise," or whatever. So you're very right to focus on those, because it sets people up for success in the future.
For sure.
Now, just to follow up to that question, when we were in LA together for Masters of Movement. What was kind of like your two biggest takeaways from the hand balancing that Amir Solsky put on, like the workshop that he did? Because you seemed really inspired by him and his method.
I really loved Amir's work, and one thing I really took away from that was learning how to breathe in different positions, whether it's on the back, on the front, inverted, doing some core work. Breathing is really important. And I've also learned a lot of that stuff from Magatsu and Sarah Claire, learning how to breathe. And again, it's not perfected, and there's so much more to learn. But yeah, breathing and keeping the core in and the ribs in applies to the handstand getting inverted. And again, it's very fundamental. Yeah.
Right on. Sorry, Brian, I feel like I'm totally monopolizing Alex here. I'm sure you've got some stuff to ask him, so I will give the floor to you for now.
All right. Well, I was just going to, I just had a couple of wrap-up questions, so I don't know if you've got any more questions before we wrap up.
Yeah, I've got a couple more. Now, Alex, if you were a vegetable, what kind of vegetable would you be?
Oh, man.
I know I'm dropping the heavy hitters here.
How do I answer that? I'm a banana, I guess, because that would be my... Or no, what am I talking about? That's fruit.
Celery.
A vegetable? Let's go with a carrot.
A carrot. All right. Why? Why a carrot? You just like them?
I just like carrots.
Yeah, that's good. Good for your eyesight.
Yes.
And another one is, where do you see yourself in 2 years from now with your training business, with your coaching? Where is your ideal Alex?
Oh man. Well,
in 5 words or less. I'm joking. Take your time.
When we met in LA, things honestly just got started, and that's where everything changed. And I got connected with some really cool people, and I was really inspired. I was teaching workshops before then, but when I came back, I really got into the workshops, and they really started to blow up. But now it's like, I don't know where I'm going. Everything is constantly changing, and my ideas and goals are changing. And, a year ago was completely different to where I'm at now. I was working full time as a youth worker and teaching a couple of workshops on the side. And now I'm, trying to actually completely change my career into this Alex Kazam Gymnastics business, which has been really fun. So yeah, I'm teaching nightly classes at the Ottawa Gymnastics Center. And, I don't know if I'm going to go into opening up a gym someday or expanding on the class idea and teaching. One thing I really do love is teaching. And I do have a lot of people that come to me for one-on-one training. I don't know if I'll continue going down that route. I do enjoy one-on-one training, especially when I start, if I can actually help somebody start seeing more difference with more advanced movement. So I always recommend people come to my workshops or my classes for the basics. And that's what I love to teach is teaching new incomers to gymnastics and then seeing some really cool improvements and having them, learn more advanced skills and get ready for, gymnastics level 2, let's say. And then my workshop. So, and, the other thing I've been looking into since we chatted in LA was online. There's a lot of potential with online work. And again, I don't know where I'm going, but it's been a blast. And, who knows where I'll be in another couple of years. I could be running a gym or teaching workshops around the world. For me right now, it's focusing on myself and getting my joints and things healthier and better and getting back to training, to ease my mind a little bit, because I've been just focusing on, Alex Kazam for the longest time. So yeah, I have a lot of goals, and those goals are constantly changing.
Now, have you ever thought about, with your experience in gymnastics and now your holistic view, I'd say, and and what you've learned outside of the gymnastics programs, have you ever thought about going back and coaching, our national level athletes, or, coaching young kids to, prevent the issues that you've had, or putting out a program that kind of helps address those issues?
You just opened up another can of worms.
Uh-oh.
When I was a kid, I used to coach the fundamentals. I always had a desire and a passion to, make good gymnasts. And the problem was, I had loopholes in my training, and everybody has loopholes. Nobody's perfect, and learning is ongoing. It's never going to end. But what I know now, I honestly believe that I could create some really good fundamental gymnasts. So I do have this dream, and I have this idea that someday I'd love to start a very young group of kids, at the age of 5 and 6, male boys, and start them over with the basics. For me, with the high level skills, that's not exactly my cup of tea. I want to start with the basics. So again, the stuff I would teach to the little ones is what I'm teaching to adults. Everybody starts at the same level. So the adults that I'm teaching right now would be considered, at an age 4, 5, and 6 level, learning, basic frog positions and headstands and alignment, core strength. So yeah, I do. That would be amazing. Right now, there's definitely no time for that, and I got other things to focus on with growing my business. But man, that would be cool.
No, for sure, because I could definitely see you as an asset, because you're not stuck in that circle, because you got out of it for a while, right? So now you see not just like the gymnastics part of it, you see the whole picture. So yeah. I think you could benefit those young athletes like so much, and you could use everything you've learned and just completely change their lives, and maybe change how Canada performs internationally in the gymnastics world.
Well, that would be really cool. There's a lot of gyms that, it's just like CrossFit. There's a lot of gyms that don't perfect the basics, and they have, the gym that I'm at now has one of the best male athletes, even in the world and in Canada, and he's hoping to make it to the Olympics. And his basics are, they're amazing, and he's killing it. But there's always a deficit somewhere for everybody. And, I see it in everywhere I go. The basics aren't always fine-tuned, and it for me, I just want to get in there and fix it, and show and educate other coaches, and show gymnasts, and whatever type of discipline it is, like, we can do it. There's always room for perfection.
Yeah, and I'd say that's where a lot of sport programs in particular are lacking, because most of the coaches at that entry level, like that 4, 5, 6, outside of like gymnastics, a lot of them are just volunteers, like parents or whatever. So they're not really, that's where you need the strong foundation. That's, if anything, that's where you need, the best people to keep these kids motivated, to keep them moving, to keep them out of injury. So I think that'd be awesome. Yeah. But I'm going to give it to Brian now, so he can do some wrap up questions, and, ask you about where we can find you and stuff. So
right on.
Absolutely. So I will pose this question and allow you to answer it one of two ways. So how would you define, or could you give us a name of who you think is the optimum human?
Oh God.
He's gonna go with the CrossFit guy. Watch.
No, right now, man, like after yesterday, like I'm really inspired by Catherine Bruni-Young. Like I have done so many workshops, and really look forward to so many more, and read books and watched videos on YouTube, and the research that I've done and the people that I've come across in the last couple of years has been amazing. But right now, for me, I'm really overwhelmed with the work that Catherine Bruni-Young has presented to me in only one weekend. And there's going to be so much more. So right now, it's when it comes to movement and strength and education on so many levels outside of yoga. Catherine has it all from what I can see so far.
Okay, awesome.
And she's just a coach down in Cornwall teaching yoga, but to me, she's so much more. You don't have to be a games athlete or an Olympic athlete. The athlete is an athlete, but to have the knowledge on how to get there and help others is, to me, really cool.
What's happening in the background there, Alex? Sounds like you're having somebody playing Jenga and they keep toppling it over.
Is that the dog again?
My roommate is feeding the dog some food here.
Oh, well, he's doing a good thing then. He's not just
absolutely.
That's good. So he's being a good dude.
Yeah.
So, anyways, kind of piggybacking on that, who would you want to hear on this podcast, and why? Or excuse me, what would you want to hear them talk about?
Oh man, there's so many people. You could talk to my buddy Tyler Touchette from Human 2.0 and Caveman Strong. Catherine would be a good person. I've listened to Paul Check and Yuri, and there's some really cool movement specialists and inspiration out there. So I could name 10 other people.
I'm surprised you didn't mention Justin Bieber.
Does he do gymnastics?
No, I just think Alex is a big fan of him. Loves his music. He really connects to it.
Yeah.
Anyways, can you tell us where can our listeners find out more about you and connect with you?
You can find me at alexkazamgymnastics.com.
How do you spell Alex Kazam, just for those who...
Yeah, ALEX KAZAM as in Mark, gymnastics.com.
Okay, sweet.
And I also have a really cool Instagram page. I post a lot of informational videos and pictures and progressions and give some tips and insight on movement training and gymnastics, whether it's applied to CrossFit or general movement. You can check me out there, and I have a Facebook page, Alex Kazam Gymnastics, as well.
Right on. And I was just gonna say, you were saying that you're gonna go back to LA in the summer, maybe. Is that real, or were you just trying to hurt me?
I'm hoping to get back to LA here within May or June to facilitate a workshop at a really huge gym. So we'll announce that soon, hopefully.
You better bring me along as your assistant, man.
Yeah, well, you came to my workshop in LA last year, and that was really cool to have you there. And
that was fun.
We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll do a twofer or something. I don't know. We'll put on a workshop one day together. It'd be fun.
Yeah, someday for sure.
Yeah. And Brian, anything else? Any questions on how I don't know, how jacked Alex is, for a gymnast, or no?
I think that's kind of check out his Instagram page.
Yeah,
check him out.
His Facebook, his Instagram. He's a strapping young man. A lot of good information on his page. I mean, even I still learn things from Alex, which is amazing. I know. That shocks me. No, I'm kidding. He's a really great resource, really nice guy. If he's ever in your part of the woods, please go check him out. Check out his workshops. See if he can do some one-on-one. He's a really smart guy. He's very modest. He won't talk about himself like that, so I'm gonna have to do it for him. But we hope you've enjoyed listening to this show.
Absolutely, it's been a blast on our end.
Yeah, thank you, Alex, for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Yeah, dude, it's we'd love to get you on, and see how you're doing further along the yoga path, maybe in like 10 months or something when you're done. Give me
a shout in another year or so. I'd love to chat with you guys again and see where things are at.
Yeah, you'll be levitating and talking about chakras and stuff.
I have my Iron Cross, and we'll talk podcasts.
Oh, dude, if you have your Iron Cross, I'm not gonna be friends with you anymore. I'm sorry. I'd be too jealous. Yeah, but thank you, dude.
I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Optimum Human Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to head on over to iTunes and give a 5-star rating and review, which will help spread the word to more awesome listeners just like you. Head on over to theoptimumhuman.com and subscribe to the free newsletter and get the Optimum Human's Blueprint to the Optimum Life. Download it instantly. Thanks for listening.